morning and hello all of you for joining this webinar today. And we at Cybernous Infosec Consulting, actually we are on a mission to empower individuals and CISSP aspirants to achieve their certification goal. So today we have with us our coach, Mr. Manoj Sharma. He's been an industry expert and he's providing training of CISSP for last 8 to 9 years. Let's all grab the knowledge given by Manoj ji. So Manoj ji, most welcome to the webinar.
Thanks, Pratima ma'am. Guys, welcome everyone to this webinar. And this webinar is on mastering the CISSP exam. Many people, they are starting preparing for CISSP, but at some point of time they realize the kind of coverage they are doing in the CISSP exam and the kind of exam which is coming up, it's very, very different. And that is why the candidate gets surprised in the exam, and he ends up, even after putting up so much of hard work, the particular candidate ends up in failing the CISSP exam. We want to minimize this entire thing, and that is what is our mission, and that's why we are here. In this particular webinar, we are going to talk about a lot regarding what is the difficulty of the CISSP exam, and obviously this is a big topic. It cannot just be covered in one webinar. We have to take at least one more webinar to cover this entire, you can say, cycle. It's a big thing. I have a lot to talk to you guys, and that is where, let's get started with part number 1. This is me. You might already be knowing me. I am one of the top voice on cybersecurity on LinkedIn. I run a very popular program called as CISSP Success Toolkit, and that's how people know me. If you want to see me, this is where I am, right? And this is where I say, people, honestly, you give me your 100 days, I am going to give you your CISSP. And I say this for a purpose. There is a lot of meaning in that entire stuff. And over a period of last 8 years, I have learned a lot teaching for CISSP. And finally, I am able to somehow decode the mechanism. I have done a deep analysis on how do you answer those tricky CISSP questions, right? And why at all in the first place we call them as a tricky exam, right? Why we call them as a tricky questions. So in this entire webinar, we are going to talk about the same. We need to understand, right? Why at all you guys are here? Why at all you are so interested to get the CISSP certification done, right? It is one of the certification which is so much considered in industry. It is always so much regarded in industry. Why? Because in business today, the businesses are struggling to find those guys who can understand the business better as well, and who can understand cybersecurity as well. Believe me, there are a lot of people you will get who are expert in cybersecurity in their own domain, but they don't know how do I take up when it comes to business. So there is always a mismatch between cybersecurity and business. We need people who can become the bridge between these two different worlds and make sure that the cybersecurity thing is always aligned with business. So that is where this is the certification which gives you that edge. And that is why it is so much respected in the industry, right? Now, another thing which is very important in the entire thing is, what is that you are going to learn? I would say more than any other certification, CISSP is so much respective, because end of the day, the kind of learning you are going to do from CISSP is way more than any other certification. I can say this with confidence because I have been teaching for the last 8 years. You can see these are the 8 domains of cybersecurity. Security and risk management. This is where you are going to wear a hat of a risk manager or a CISO. You have to think like a CISO, right? So that is what you get, that particular edge you are going to get in this particular domain number 1. In domain number 2, you are going to talk about asset management. Asset is what you are going to protect, because end of the day, data is everything. Data is kept on a particular asset, and how do you maintain and protect these assets so that you are able to protect the data as well, right? So this will give you entire fundamental knowledge of the asset part. Part number 3 will give you, domain number 3 will give you the architecture perspective. You have to wear an architect hat. And this is where you are going to make sure whenever you are architecting any information system, you are taking care of security, right? And that's a big responsibility for anybody who is in cybersecurity, right? Domain number 4 makes you a champion in network security. Domain number 5 makes you a champion in identity and access management. Domain number 6 make you a champion in audit part, audit testing and assessments. That's a big thing. And then security operations. So this is where you are going to be a champion and understand the world of security operations and the kind of challenges we face day to day. And finally, domain number 8, it will make you a master. If I say not a complete master, but so it is going to give you an edge into understanding the software development world and how you are going to counter the particular challenges in that particular world. So this is the only certification which gives you an overall round of security. It can make you a SME in each and every part. I think no other certification is completely covering security. So that is why, CISSP is so much respected. Let's go more technical and talk a little bit about the exam. See, the biggest hurdle to get this certification is the exam, obviously, right? So it's a 3 hours exam, 100 to 150 question. We call it as 100 to 150 because it's not a linear exam. This particular exam is very different. There is an algorithm which is working in the back end. So that is why it is called as computerized adaptive test. All the questions you are going to get, either they are drag and drop or they are going to be multiple choice. Passing percentage is 70%. Now, it's very difficult to identify how the calculation is done in the backend because nowhere it has been published, all that kind of criteria. But this is the certification which is so much regarded because the way it is being conducted, the way it is being maintained, I think ISC2 is doing a fabulous work into doing that. They are maintaining the sanity of this particular certification. That is where it is so much respected in the industry, right? Now, let's talk about a little bit about your booking the exam, right? It's a costly exam, no doubt, $749, and that's the exam fee. And if you want to reschedule the exam, it's gonna cost you $50 US. And let's say you have booked the exam and then later on you want to cancel it, you are going to cost like 100 USD out of it. Now, if you go for a single attempt, that's 749. Very recently, ISC2 has also done a great job. They have come up with a different option where you are going to get one additional chance for appearing for the exam, and for that you have to pay $199. Believe me guys, they call it as peace of mind. It is really peace of mind because this is where you can go to the exam free of mind. You don't have to worry much. At least there is a backup there for the second attempt, right? So that is a very, very good thing. Okay. So these are all about the costing and booking the exam. We are here basically to understand more about the complexity of the exam, isn't it? That is what has driven you to this particular webinar. And to understand those important secrets, what makes the computerized adaptive test or the CISSP exam so tricky in this session. It's going to be a little technical session, guys. Be ready for those kind of questions and all. So let's go and try to decode this. This entire CAT exam, computerized adaptive test, it is a computerized adaptive. That means there is an algorithm which is working in the backend. This algorithm will keep evaluating you. It will be scoring you in a particular way. It will be scoring yourself based on the answers you are giving. And then if there is one answer wrong, as you can see here, right, then your complexity of the exam goes further. You are going to be tested again with another question hitting on the same concept. Because this is where the algorithm wants to be double sure, are you proficient in this particular concept or not? So this is way much different. Earlier when I did my CISSP, it was a 6-hour exam. Now it is just 3-hour exam, and they are maintaining the same difficulty level. How? It is all because of this adaptive test. There is an algorithm which is working in the backend. So you need to understand this more in, you need to get familiarized with the entire thing. And I think in today's industry, nobody is talking about that secret. So let me tell you a secret today, which nobody has spoken before. Let me talk about 3 important rules on which the entire CAT exam works. The first rule is called as confidence interval rule. What is that rule? So in this rule, what will happen is the algorithm will actually be evaluating the moment you start the exam. The algorithm will start evaluating. It will be scoring you for the estimated proficiency level. Every question you answer will be accounted for your estimated proficiency level. And the moment you are done with 100 questions or somewhere like around 2 hours in the exam, it is going to take a critical decision. If the estimated proficiency level of the algorithm is above 95%, that means you pass the CISSP certification. Then and there, your exam window will close and you have to go and collect your printout. That is where you have already passed the CISSP exam. Now, because this is a decision point at 100 questions, right? Or maybe 2 hours. The second thing which is possible is, let's say you are not scoring above 95%. Your estimated proficiency level is not 95%. It's below that. But it is also above the 70% passing mark. If your proficiency level lies here, right, between 95% to 70% passing marks, then you are going to be given with another 50 questions. These 50 questions are going to be operational questions. You can expect these are going to be one-liner kind of questions, easy questions you are going to get. You have to complete these 50 questions within the, you can say, stipulated time of 3 hours. And if you do that, your exam does not close. There is every chance that you pass the exam. So don't think, many people think, man, I have crossed 2 hours. Then I'm going to fail because I'm given with another 50 questions. Nothing like it. I have seen people who are done with entire 150 question also and they have passed the exam. So that is the second rule. Now, in the confidence interval rule, the third part simply says, if your scoring is neither above 95%, it is neither above 70%, it falls below. Then guys, in just 2 hours, your exam is gonna close and you fail the CISSP exam. So that is what is confidence interval rule, which explain us how the algorithm works in the backend. The second rule, right, which is called as the maximum length rule, isn't it? The maximum length rule is where you have to actually those 50 questions, right? What you get after the 2 hours of decision making, right? After that, you get additional 50 questions. If at any point of time, the passing percentage or your scoring falls below the 70%, that is where again you are going to fail the exam, right? So you have to complete the entire 150 questions and you have to make sure at every point in time you are scoring more than 70%. And believe me, in CISSP exam, it is not cumulative for all the domains. You have to individually pass each domain as well. Otherwise, your scoring will be below proficiency level or near proficiency level. So I think those people who have already appeared and they fail, I think they understand this thing very well. The last rule here is called as out of the time rule or run out of time rule. So this is where you are not able to complete all 150 questions within 3 hours. Then this rule will actually come in there, right? So I hope you are able to understand how your exam journey is going to be in this entire 3 hours. If your proficiency level is above 95%, you are doing fantastic. Within 2 hours, you can pass the exam. At the same time, If your proficiency level is below the 70%, then you fail the exam in just 2 hours. And if you are somewhere in middle, you are going to get additional 50 questions which you have to attend, and you have to maintain a scoring of 70% consistently, and you have to complete all the questions within 3 hours. So that's the rule, guys. I think nobody might have told you about this secret. It is very important to keep practicing from now itself for that kind of situation. Okay. Now, let's decode the CISSP complexity a little bit more. Right? We have spoken about the exam. Let's speak about the questions here. Right? Why at all we say that the CISSP question is a difficult question? Why people are so much worried about CISSP questions, right? So let's see what different kind of questions you get in the exam. The number one type of question you are going to get in the exam, and very, very popular, it is called as the management question. What is a management question? A management question is where the question tests your intent. The question tests your decision making, how well you are able to make decisions in the corporate world when it comes to cybersecurity. So that is the intent of these management questions. On the other side, there might be some questions which are very technical or which are purely based on the CISSP concept. They might be tricky in terms of English, but they are end of the day asking you a concept which as a security guy you should know. So those kind of questions are called as technical questions. The third kind of question which comes in is called as a research question. So this research is not from your side. This research is actually from the ISC2 side. They keep giving you some kind of, additional questions and tough questions which will they want to keep researching on them, and if they find that these are good questions, candidate are answering it with the right sense, there is no problem with the question, they can make it as a next question. So any question which comes in the exam, first it becomes a research question. So these are the kind of questions which will not be scored. They will not be contributing to your passing, but they will definitely can waste your time in the exam. But is there a way to identify these kind of questions? Answer is no. There is no way to identify this kind of questions in the exam. So should I worry about it? Not at all. For you, you just forget about this alien research question. What you have to focus is on the topmost. So that is more about the kind of questions which comes in the CISSP exam. Now let's go a little further and talk about why at all we call them difficult. So now we are going to talk about the length of the CISSP question. See, there are two different type of questions which is possible to come in the exam based on length. One are called as short questions, and these questions contribute to almost, you can say, 85% of your CISSP exam. So this is going to be your main bread and butter. But there is a villain as well, which is wordy questions, or you can call them as lengthy questions. So these lengthy questions will be almost like 4 to 5 lines, or they can be even more, and they can trouble you and they can waste your time in the exam for sure. So how do I get rid of it? Answer is that, let's talk about that particular thing. What are those different elements which makes a CISSP question challenging? Let's talk on that first, and then we will come back on those lengthy questions and other things, right? So let's talk about this aspect. So as per my deep analysis, training people for the last 8 years, and I am the only one who is giving the live exam practice in the industry right now. And based on my deep research, I have prepared almost 5,000 questions. Preparing for CISSP, I have crafted all those kind of questions. And this is what I have seen. The CISSP question is called as a difficult question because there are 5 these elements. The first challenge is called as TMI challenge, 4x TMI challenge, confusion challenge, the English challenge, and finally the keyword challenge. So in this section, I am going to tell you more about what is this challenge all about and what does these terms actually means. So in the webinar, we are going to focus on understanding the question difficulty here. So let's go to the first part, the TMI challenge. The TMI stands for too much information in the question. You might get some lengthy question, which I was just talking about, and might be a paragraph, might be even more. And when you start reading this from the top, by the time you come in the middle, because already you have to cover everything within 3 hours, you are expected to answer the question within almost a minute. It becomes a nightmare. These kind of question becomes a nightmare. They can eat up your time, isn't it? Because the question itself is so lengthy. Now, on top of it, which I say, let's say you are so lucky, you get a lengthy question, and on this lengthy question, the 4 options you get, they are also lengthy. Then how good you will feel, right? Simply talking, it can, simply talking, it can consume a lot of your time when answering these kind of questions. Now we have spoken about 2 problem statement. One is TMI problem. The another thing is, 4x TMI problem. So how do we counter it? Let me tell you the simplest way to do that based on my experience. And it has worked a lot. It is always working. My candidates are passing CISSP like a breeze. And let me tell you, let's explore first this short kind of question. You can expect 85% of the question coming as short question in your CISSP exam. These are as simple as you can see on your screen. During a pen testing, the testing team successfully gains unauthorized access to the critical system. What should be the immediate action by the testing team? Just how many sentences? Only 2 sentences are there. This kind of question is what I am defining as short question. This kind of question might be contributing to 85% of your exam. Now, what is the best way to cater for these kind of questions? They are short does not mean they are easy by any sense. They are short does not mean they are easy. So let's talk about the framework. So what is the right sequence to answer this kind of question? Number first, because this question is short, you can simply go through, start reading this question from the top, then just have a look on the options, try to apply, first try to comprehend the question, because comprehension is the biggest problem. I see many people sometimes coming to me and saying, sir, I have taken training or I have self-prepared for the exam, and what has happened is I have failed all the domains. I have been preparing for last 8 years. My simple question to them is, how much is your experience? They say, sir, it is already 8 to 10 years. Then I think, ma'am, how can this happen? Right? This guy already is in security. He knows a lot already. How can he fail the exam? And the simple answer is, he failed the exam because it is not that this guy does not know security. He fails the exam because he could not understand the complexity of this challenging exam question. And that is very, very important. So you need to follow a particular framework, which I will be talking about in these webinars. But the number one thing is, you need to comprehend the question right. If you don't understand the question right itself, it's going to be a challenge. So what you need to do, read the question at least 2 times. Focus on the keywords. What are the different keywords? Like you can see in this question, unauthorized access, critical systems, immediate. These are the keywords here, which can change the direction of a particular question. So read the question carefully, comprehend it right, then go to option. And when you go to option, try to ask yourself, what is that aspect or the concept which is being asked to me from the exam? CISSP exam is a concept-driven exam. If they're asking you a question, there is a purpose behind that. And they want to make sure that you understand the concept there. So try to see yourself, it is knowledge-based question or it is a management question. If it is a management question, I have a lot more guidance for you. I'm going to tell you mostly maybe in the next webinar. We will be talking about that aspect as well. But if it is a knowledge question, that means they are testing your understanding of the concept. So try to evaluate, try to put up each option and try to match up as per the question, if it is really, meaning there or not. If not, then that's not the right answer. You have to play a elimination method to do that. So try to understand the scenario, which is there in the exam. Try to understand the problem statement. Every question will have a problem statement. There will be sometimes a constraint. They say this is the problem, but this is the limitation which the company is facing. What you can do the best. Then make a judgment of the keyword. Finally, when you are answering it, make sure you see that keyword once again. If the keyword is asking best, are you really, the option is the best out of these four or not? So that is the right perspective to answer. As per me, the elimination method works the best in this entire scenario. The elimination method is the best. So always go with elimination method. That's my recommendation to you. So that is the method you are going to follow for 80% or 85% of the CISSP questions. Now, what about the lengthy questions? Let's say the question is very lengthy. Then what you are going to do? So in that particular case, follow this strategy. Just see this question. I'm not asking you to solve this question. Just see it from a high level, cognitively. Just see this question. And this question you see is at least having 4 to 5 sentences. It is lengthy because my screen is big. This question might look, smaller to you, but actually it's a lengthy question. And in the option as well, you can see the options also are lengthy. How do we counter this kind of question? So my recommendation to you will be this. If you get a lengthy question in the exam, what you should do is try to read the last statement first. Never directly go and start reading the question because you will be lost. You will simply lose up your time in the exam. So what you need to do, just last statement is what you have to read. This will give you some idea what the question is finally asking to you. Once you are done with last statement reading, go and read the options. This will give you much more clarity. What they are asking for versus what options are available in the question. Then only, when you have some idea what is finally being asked, then only dive into the question. Because normally what will happen is the question will be taking you from domain number 1 to domain number 3 to domain number 5. It will keep jumping you from one domain to another. It's not at all difficult. If you understand this mechanism, it is not difficult at all. But if you are not practicing and you don't have the right mindset, it might seem very, very difficult to you. So guys, that's very, very important for you. And then you start reading the full question and then make a judgment. Is it a management question or knowledgeable question? And based on that, because you have already gone through the option, you have already gone through the last statement, answer the question. That strategy will save a lot of time for you in the exam. Believe me. So that's my piece of advice when you get these lengthy questions. They are not many. Might be in your exam, you may get 8 to 10 questions like this, maybe sometimes even more. That is why I've kept it to 15%, but that's what it is. Okay. And same thing, you have to understand the scenario, the problem statement, the constraint, and the keywords. And based on that, always go and answer the question. Elimination method works the best. As you can see, elimination method is the best method to actually answer the CISSP questions. Simple as that. Okay, so we have spoken about 2 different problems. The first problem we have spoken about is the length of the question. The second thing we have also spoken about how do we solve all these kind of questions. Let's talk about another challenge, which is called as the confusion challenge. Now, many people come and say to me after the CISSP exam, sir, actually out of the 4 options, I was able to eliminate 2, but 2 other options were really driving me crazy. They were so applicable. Both was looking right to me. Right? Guys, there is a lot to this. There's an entire phenomena behind this. I'm going to mostly explain you here. As an example, just see this question. Which of the following is the primary reason to perform regular vulnerability scanning of an organization network? Now, even if you have 15 to 20 years of cybersecurity experience, you may go and answer this question wrong, right? Why? Because they are asking for the primary reason to perform regular vulnerability scanning. Otherwise, you may think we may get vulnerability scanning report and this is my part of work. I'm going to report to the management. You may go with A. You may also think validate vulnerability remediation activities. I have to retest every month. Have the are the vulnerabilities being remediated or not? That's very important, right? That's very much applied to this. That's B option. C option says prevent attackers from discovering vulnerabilities, and that is most of the people will go with the option number C, because end of the day, the vulnerability management is you are trying to remediate your vulnerability so that the attacker don't attack you, or like before attacker attacks you, you find the vulnerability and solve it. So many people will go with C. And the last one, remediate known vulnerability, that is the entire focus of vulnerability management. So in this way, you can see all these four options are very much applicable. Don't you think so? They are very much applicable. But here is the trick, right? Here is the trick. See, the question is asking primary reason to perform regular vulnerability assessment. Right? You can give a report as per option number A, even if you are not going with regular vulnerability management. You can submit the report to the management. That's okay. You can also go and perform it, not let's say every month. You may also perform it, let's say quarterly, or maybe some other periodicity or ad hoc. But you can also address C by doing that. You can address D as well by doing that. But why we are doing it on a particular schedule regularly after month? Because you want to validate. Last month, I had these many vulnerabilities. Have they been remediated or not? What is the status on the remediation? Are we not remediating them enough, or are we really making progress in that? And that way, you just not only identify the leftover vulnerability, you also see the remaining vulnerabilities as well, which is added as new to your entire stuff. And that is why B is the right answer here. You know, the kind of thought process which goes in the CISSP exam, that mindset I want you to develop. And this is what I train you for in my training as well. Now, fourth number challenge is called as the English challenge. Now, why I call it as the English challenge? Actually, the language of the question is little tricky. I'm really not scaring you. My intent is not at all to scare you and talk about too much of difficulty about the CISSP exam. I just want to make you aware, because many people, they talk about think like a manager, and there is lot many hue and cry over the internet as well, think like a manager. But actually, how to think like a manager? Is somebody talking about that? No. To talk about that, we need to go and practice this kind of things, right? So okay, so the question is what the answer, B or D? The question actually was the answer was B in the previous question, right? Okay, guys, let's talk about the English challenge. Why CISSP considered tricky is also because of its English. Even US people, even people from Europe also, they struggle to answer this kind of trickiness, because normally we are not habitual to answer that trickiness, right? So let's talk about that trickiness. And this might be surprising for you, this particular section. Let's go and see this question. Very, very simple question. I have tried to keep the simplest of the example to you. And if you see which of the following is a strategy of grouping a requirement in developing a security test and evaluation. Now, this test and evaluation is a word which you might have gone with Cybex, you might have gone with Sean Harris or whatever book, even with CBK. They may not talk about this security test and evaluation, but this is a new term which has come up. Even if you know the topic, actually this is talking about nothing else. It is just talking about the system life cycle itself. When you go and prepare a system and then you need to take care of security is what they are talking about in the simplest form. But this particular term will go as a bouncer for you maybe in the exam, because it is only 3 hours and you are with a different mindset, you know. So that can make your life little scary out there, that English part. You might also see the English in these terms here, right? Option number A, B, C, D. And that is where you need to think deeper. You need to think a step deeper and answer these kind of questions. Okay, I am not here. We are not trying to answer this question here. So don't ask me that question. I'm just focus on the concept. I am trying to tell you what is the trickiness of the exam. Let's go and see another question. Now, it might also come in the category of a lengthy question, but just try to read this question and ask yourself, is the options making any sense to whatever is there in the question? Maybe no, right? Because the question is first talking about unauthorized person to download an released game. That means somebody got unauthorized access. And then later on, they just add more complexity by saying when the audit happens and when you try to evaluate these kind of controls, you identify that the software change control and security patch management had some problem. Otherwise, no other problem. So they are just simply confusing you here. But if you see, the question is, the theme of the question is actually asking you that operationally, these controls are not well maintained. So if they are not well maintained, which kind of attack can apply to that? Buffer overflow, very technical attack, more related to the software development or bugs in the software development. Distributed denial of service, again, it can happen when you don't have control. The question is talking more about the operational deficiency in the control. So I don't think C will also apply. Cross-site scripting, another thing which you have to take care during the development and the coding of the software. So the only option left out for you is the B, weak password, which are able to, which are not having the complexity. Your password policy is not complex enough. That's what. So B is the answer in this case, right? So you understand the English. Sometimes this can be the max. I am talking about the maximum complexity of the questions in the exam. Let's see one more question here. So in this question, you might see they are talking about if compromised, which of the following would lead to exploitation of multiple virtual machines? They are talking about a cloud scenario or a virtualized scenario where you have multiple virtual machines and they're simply asking you, what is that can lead to a attack getting spread to other virtual machine attacks as well? What you do? So 4 options are there and you are more habitual. You might know what is virtual sprawl attack, what is virtual escape attack, all those kind of stuff. But you don't see all these virtual machine drivers, monitor, instant, file system. These are the terms you have never heard, right? Actual answer for this is if an attacker get access to your hypervisor, then once they get onto the hypervisor, they are able to exploit a complexity in the hypervisor. They can go to the other virtual machine. But unfortunately, that word hypervisor is not there in the option. What you do? So that is where I teach my guys to always keep understanding the additional, or you can say synonym and the other words used for the same. You can see virtual machine monitor is another term which is used mostly for the hypervisor. And that is the answer just in front of you. What I am talking about is all about the English problem, the English in the CISSP exam. So don't just think that you have gone through a lot of content, you have gone through so many things, and then you just go and appear in the CISSP exam, you are going to pass. No, you need to pass this hurdle. You need to learn the art of understanding this complexity on a regular basis. And for that, you need some kind of practice, isn't it? So let's talk about a little bit about the keyword challenge. Now, this keyword challenge is very, very important. In these kind of questions, you will get some qualifier keywords in your question. What are qualifier keyword? Which actually qualifies an option to be the answer. So you can understand they are very, very tricky. If somebody is asking you most, somebody is asking you primary, somebody asking you about the best, first, least, accept, then last. These are the kind of keywords which are you will find every now and then, almost in every third to fourth question. You need to familiarize yourself with that challenge. Let us pick up primary first. Let's try to pick up the word primary. So I would request you go through this, whatever is there on your screen for 30 seconds, and I'm going to explain to you. So if you monitor this question, right, what you have noticed, right, there's a word called as primary. I have highlighted this also for easy understanding. And whenever the word primary comes in the exam, they are talking something very fundamental. As a layman, you keep asking yourself why, and when the why ends, that's your answer. So in this kind of question, what will happen is there might be different options and all are applicable, but you have to find the primary one. If you do one, then rest all will automatically be taken care of. That is the kind of question you will have. For example, you are implementing a public key infrastructure. The primary purpose of using certificates in PKI is to encrypt data in transit, enhance known repudiation, provide complexity for digital signature, and establish and simplify trust on network. So if you go with one, yes, a digital certificate, it contains the public key of the receiver. You can take that and encrypt data. Yes, it can be used. But is that the primary option? No. Is that the primary function? No. Enhance known repudiation? No. Digital certificate can help you for digital signature, but it cannot be by itself a known repudiation control. So you need to understand that thing. Then provide complexity for provide confidentiality of digital signatures. Yes, sometimes we use it, but is that the primary function? No. What is the primary function? When you go on internet and you interact with your bank, don't you think you need some kind of assurance that I am dealing with the right bank? There should not be an attacker sitting on the other side. How does your browser make sure that is happening, that trust is established? That is what is the right answer. Establish trust on the network. So that's a very fundamental layman thing they are asking you, but that is what you need to answer it right. Instead of going technical, they are talking about trust here, right? So that is what is the answer. Might looks like little tricky. That's how it is. Let's see another question. In this question, it says, what is the primary difference between security policies and security procedures? And if you see them minutely, almost everything applies to it, right? Policies are used to enforce violations, I think going little negative, and procedure create penalties. No, I don't think so. That's, you can simply use the elimination method to do that. Policies point to guidelines and procedures are more contractual in nature. No, that's also not right. But they may in some way, partially they are aligned with the statement, not completely. Policies are included in awareness training and procedures give guidelines. I don't think policies include awareness training and procedures give guidelines. No, it is, they are mixing up things here, right? It is all about English here, right? Last option, if you see, policies are generic in nature and procedure contain operational detail. They are step-by-step thing for you to maintain. You understand, guys? That's the right answer. So that is where you have to see this primary. What is the primary fundamental purpose of something being there? That is what they are going to evaluate. Okay, that looks very interesting, right? So if you want to break this complexity and go with much more confidence in the CISSP exam, I have a very, very good framework for you, right? And let's talk a little bit about that before we go ahead. Just for a quick thing, this my purpose, what you see on your screen, that's my dream of life. You just give me 100 days and I am going to give you CISSP certification. Believe me, I mean a lot. It's something which is deeply embedded in me, and that is where I train people with a lot of passion. All right, that's my purpose, and it's not that it's not working. I think I myself has endorsed more than 150 people by now. Right, so it is such a working model, and there's a fantastic framework I have brought for you. I call it as a next generation framework. In this entire program, what you are going to get? You are going to get a 100 days program. You just have to spend, it has been designed for busy security professionals like you, because I understand in corporate it is very difficult to find some dedicated time. You have to keep churning your salary and other things also, right? So in this model, you have to just spend like 2 hours in a day. If you have that time, definitely this is for you. And one important thing, this training is not a boot camp. See, bootcamp trainings are not sufficient to help you pass CISSP. If you take a 40 hours of training, somebody just teaching you theory is not at all a right investment. Because I told you, understanding CISSP is one thing, just one thing. Understanding the complexity of the exam and passing it is another art. Nobody is teaching that unnecessarily. So these bootcamp doesn't make you prepared for the exam. They just give you and throw some knowledge on you. That's not sufficient for you to pass the exam. And that is why I have come up with this end-to-end preparation exam. It is a complete hand-holding to success. And how we make it possible, you can see here. You are going to get a program which is completely 100 days. That is what we call as CISSP Success Toolkit. The entire package is called as CISSP Success Toolkit, which also include practice questions, exam preparation, CISSP mock test, everything, including my live training. And my live training is not theory. It is all practicing you. Just consider you go to a gym, you have to reduce weight. You go to a gym and your trainer start doing all the exercise. You just sit down and watch your trainer. Will you be able anytime be able to reduce the weight? Yes or no? Just put me on the chat. Do you feel it is yes or no? Will you be able to reduce the weight if your trainer keep doing the training? And that is what happens in most of the training. Normally the trainer keeps speaking and talking about, and you are not doing anything. You are just simply relaxing, that too off video, and going from there. It's not at all helpful. You need a trainer who can make you to work out. So that is why my weekend sessions, I call them as CISSP gym sessions. We call it as CISSP gym. So this is where you will be exercising, and I will be aligning you to the right posture and the right way to answer a question. So that is the difference between all those kind of trainings, what you get, and versus this. You are going to get a access for entire year, for the entire this 100 days plan, and including all the updates which comes in. Every batch I bring in something new. Let me talk about a little bit more and give you insight into the program. So what you see on the left hand side of the screen is there is a 15-week program which has been designed for you, so that you have to consume only a small bit per day. Don't need to worry about other things. You are worried about revision. You are worried about so much content and how do I revise? Everything is taken care in this program. There are dedicated days which are only given for revision, right? And very, very well-structured videos pointing on what you need to know from the exam perspective. So read what is required for passing the exam. So that's how, it is entirely structured. You don't, if I say you don't need to read any other book, no CBK, no Sean Harris, no Cybex, nothing required. Just go through my videos and go through my book, which is integrated into the entire plan. And more importantly, it is broken day wise. So just you see the video, same day, you go through these dedicated notes, done. You are done for the day. Right? And what most people do the mistake is they do not practice enough questions. So I make you to practice questions on a daily basis. You have to see my video, you have to go through my notes. The next step you are going to do is to practice questions. It has to be a test-driven approach if you want to pass the CISSP exam. And how do we go about it? All through these courses. You can see here, there are CISSP mock test, almost 3,500 questions, and CISSP practice questions also, which are domain wise. So this is a huge collection of questions we are going to practice on a daily basis. After going through my video, after going through the notes, the next thing is this, right? Wait. There's a lot more into this. These are 3,500 questions you are going to practice. After this, you are going to get my entire bundle of my Udemy courses. These Udemy courses, all you can see on the screen, they are highly rated on Udemy. And all these things, if you go and purchase, it will be costing you so much. Now in this entire program, if you join with me, including my live training and everything, you get everything for free, right? So that's thing. These are 950 core concept questions. So in this, what I have done, I have broken the entire CISSP into core concept, and one by one concept I have explained in the video format. And it is not just explanation. First, it is asking you to take a action and tell me if a particular concept is right or wrong. So that is a validation for you as well at the same time. Then once you answer it, then see my explanation. I explain this in English. That's how it is, right? You are going to get access to that also. And more importantly, how do you make sure that I am really prepared for the exam? Is there some kind of standard or a gauge which you can see, okay, now I have passed this, now I am confident going for the exam? Is there something like that? Yes, it is there. So you can also subscribe to my mock test, which is there on Udemy. And this is a complete set of 750 questions which are there. You just have to appear in this very, very tricky question, all scenario based question. You are going with a preparation equivalent to CISSP exam. So that is what I ensure. Okay. Now, all these things are available to you in the package. What I haven't spoken till now is all my live classes. So all my live classes, everybody has to be on video. You can see that, all the faces here. And all and everybody is going with a lot of practice. We call it as CISSP gym session. So in those gym session, you have to keep yourself under test. There will be 40 to 50 questions we are going to practice on a weekend, and in those things you are getting yourself evaluated. These are replicating the CISSP difficulty level, at least a level higher than that. So that way, when you go to the real exam, you don't feel like this is very, very alien to me. You feel like I am already prepared for this kind of complexity already, right? So that is what we do, and you have to be there in the session all the time. It is very interactive session, and once you answer it, everything is being explained by me. The art, the trick, the right approach, the management approach is what is spoken by me in these sessions. So you can see that is why we have such a high success rate, and these are all the mock tests. You are also going to get access to that, right? All this thing, just a simple comparison between rest of the bootcamp approach versus this program approach. I told you bootcamp is not sufficient because they just give you certain theory. They only talk about theory. We not only give you theory, we give you a plan along with that. We also give you a 1 year access to that. We also get you rid of all the heavyweight books. You have to just go and read what is important from the exam perspective. More than 5,000 questions you are going to practice, including my concept questions and my live trainings, and you are going to get everything on mobile as well, and a one-to-one mentorship, which is very, very important in your journey. If you don't have a right mentor, you may slip off, because CISSP is a lengthy journey, guys, to be very honest. And what can happen is, at times you may feel demotivated, all of those kind of stuff, right? You need somebody who can motivate you, who can keep you on track and all the things, right? We have a number of live sessions. This entire is a 15 weeks program. Every week you are going to spend 4 hours with me. If you, once you are done with everything, you want to have more practice, come and welcome. I keep running 3 batches in tandem on the weekend. You can join any of the batches. So in a weekend, you can take 12 hours of practice. It is just up to you how much you can consume. You are not going to learn by a water pipe. You are going to learn by water hose, right? So that is what is there in the program. You can see a lot of success stories. You are here because you might have already gone through my profile on LinkedIn. Maybe you might have gone through my YouTube channel, all of that. You can see a lot of success stories, and every week or this thing, we are getting more and more people certified, right? So if you want to join this program, most welcome. And now rest of this stuff, because in the next weekend, I am going to give you a very, very interesting framework to answer all this. We are first going to talk about all these keywords which you need to know. If you are self-preparing, you should make your mindset like this. How do I answer question with primary, most? What does best means? What does least means? all these kind of things. These might be very simple, you can say English words, but actually when they are placed inside the question, they make the question very, very tricky. So that is what we are going to talk about with examples. We are also going to talk about having the right mindset. Think like a manager. Everybody talk about think like a manager. How do you think? What are those things you need to do? Tick mark by tick mark. Do you have a checklist ready? That is what we are going to talk about. And then things to avoid before the CISSP exam. What you should not do before the exam and what you should not do during the exam as well is what we are going to talk about. So guys, I also want to see you in the next this thing. Even if you are preparing yourself for CISSP, believe me, this session can be a lot of help to you, because you would never like to waste your hard-earned money just because you are not aware with the things, you are not well prepared. So I am here to help you for anything, and reach out to my team as well. They are here, few people might be here. Note down, take a screenshot, reach out to them, and we can also give you this entire package for free. All my Udemy courses also included in the entire bundle if you join now. Right? The next webinar is on 10th of April. That means next Saturday. I am going to, because it is very difficult to keep it concise and cover everything within 1 hour. So that is the reason why I have kept it in 2 things. Next webinar is also going to be a game changer. It is going to tell you the entire framework. How should you think when the question comes in front? How you should think with example we are going to talk about. So guys, I hope this information helps you. Over to Pratima ma'am. Thank you very much. Pratima ma'am, would you like to take it from here?
Yes, and thank you so much, guys, and thank you, Manoj, for such an insightful session. I hope we have gained actually the valuable insights and knowledge through you. And guys, please remember, Cybernous is here to help you out to succeed in your CISSP success. And don't forget to join the next webinar, which is on 10th of August at the same time. Thank you so much for joining in.
Yeah.